Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Saturday morning US time Q&A session. And we will start with our prayers, the Mangalacharan prayers, and then continue our session. So let me share my screen. Um, okay. Do you see Veda base? So, introduction, and we will recite these prayers. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, so welcome everybody to this Q&A session. Yesterday evening, our time, we had a very nice session with His Holiness Romapad Maharaj. And primarily it was a Q&A session with him. Since, it is an opportunity to interact with a saintly person. Classes can be heard, one-way classes can always be heard offline. There are many lectures and videos and audios that are available from him and from many other saintly people. So one way is much easier, but it's just a very wonderful thing to interact, to be able to interact and ask our questions to these people who have uh, spent a majority of their life. Majority, and by majority I don't mean 51%. Majority means more like 80%, 90% of their life in absorbing and spreading Lord Krishna's message all over the world, and having experienced talking to various people, understanding where they are coming from, and giving a answer that is very applicable, practically applicable to our lives, understanding a whole lot of situations. There are many times when questions are asked and we answer from our perspective, not realizing where the other person is coming from. So once we begin to appreciate the other person's um, position or his potential situations, circumstances, the answers become more effective and more applicable. So it was a very nice session, I felt. Uh, so we did not have a main class yesterday as we usually would have had. So there is not much of a summary that I have with me that I can cover today. We are still on chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, and we are going to continue that in 2 weeks from now. Next Friday, most likely, we will not have a session because I will be visiting, or I will be attending a session by Romapad Maharaj at a different venue that week. or next week, Friday. So we will continue our Q&A today. And I wanted to probably quickly summarize where we are in Bhagavad Gita and then open it up to Q&A. If you have questions, please raise your hands or post your questions in the chat, or feel free to say them out loud, potentially or preferably after raising the hand. So one key theme I just wanted to touch upon from the questions that came up yesterday was regarding detachment. And I want to quickly emphasize one point that we have covered many times. See, Bhagavad Gita can be understood from several angles. One of those angles is how Lord Krishna intended it to be. The other angles are all self-manufactured by various people. So, though the initial chapters of Bhagavad Gita are focusing on detachment, Lord Krishna's main message is not detachment. Some of the people who abandon the Bhagavad Gita in the middle or after reading the first few chapters may take away the message that Bhagavad Gita focuses, or one of the key messages, detachment. Okay. And that's why there were some questions earlier or yesterday. There was a very meaningful questions that I will repeat that question here. Where is that? Yeah, responsibility towards our children. So this person said that when I was a kid, one of my friend's mother was used to go to an ashram of a specific Swami, and in that taking up that responsibility, she neglected the responsibility in her home towards the child. And this person says that my friend, who was the child, used to come to the school or many other places hungry, and sometimes even fainted because she didn't eat anything at all. So the mother was not taking good care of the child, and because the mother was potentially, or the reason was that she was getting these instructions of detachment. So that was the question, and this person was trying to ask that if there was such a person who prioritizes bhakti over other responsibilities, then what would you say to the person? That was the question. And Maharaj answered this, that bhakti is not just detachment. And we have also, I just want to make it very clear and make sure that you all understand that even though Lord Krishna has talked and is continuing to talk a lot about detachment in the first several chapters, Lord Krishna has definitely mentioned that just detachment is not the main message. Attachment to Krishna is the main message. So as human beings, there is a natural tendency to be attached, to have attachments to something. It is the attachment to our own sense gratification that is what Lord Krishna is asking us to avoid. And in 2.59 verse, Lord Krishna talks of a param rasa, a higher taste, that we replace this lower taste of our own sense gratification with the higher taste of pleasing Krishna, of thinking of what will make Lord Krishna happy, instead of thinking what will make us happy, and be attached to those things. So it is not about giving up attachment or abandoning attachments. It is about abandoning our sense gratification and caring for Krishna's gratification. So when the mother and bhakti is about being responsible and raising children and whatever duties that one performs in a responsible manner, Lord Krishna's main message is not to Arjuna to be detached from the battle. Lord Krishna asks Arjuna to fight the battle and remember him. Again, we discussed this verse 8.7, where Lord Krishna says that Mam Anusmara Yuddhacha. How does that start? 8.7. I'm opening it.
Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu.
Sarmat sarveshu kaleshu. Yes. Therefore, all the time, thank you, Prabhuji. All the time, sarveshu kaleshu, mam anusmara, remember me and fight. So that is the main message. And when we begin to see everything in relationship to Krishna, anasakta vishayan, this another verse Maharaj had quoted from Nectar of Devotion, which those who are doing the Bhakti Shastri course will encounter very soon. See, being detached from objects of our sense gratification and being attached to things that we can use to serve Krishna. That is called real detachment. Everything else is Falgu Vairagya, false detachment, just detachment and nothing else. No, we have to develop attachment to Krishna, and that is the main message of the Bhagavad Gita. And those who miss that part of the message, they have these kind of questions and they have these kind of thinking that how can I be detached from everything? And it is not possible. And then in that result, in that course of thinking, we begin to become irresponsible towards our duties. So Lord Krishna, in fact, in the third chapter itself, we had read, who do this at a superficial level are called mithyacharis and mudhas, fools and pretenders or cheaters. So that is what is the sort of the correct understanding that we receive from Bhagavad Gita. So maybe the reason is because I'm going too slowly through these chapters of Bhagavad Gita. It's been like 10 weeks or so, and we are still on third chapter. In previous batches, I was a little bit faster actually, and but at the same time I debate whether to go deeply into the discussions of each verse and highlight or bring out the key concepts, the words that are directly from the Sanskrit verses that are very important, that we must focus on to understand Bhagavad Gita, or to move ahead fast so that we can get to the main message in the Bhakti Yoga chapters. So I just wanted to say that and mention that Bhakti and is not just detachment, and definitely it is not being irresponsible in our daily duties. We must perform our daily duties as a means to serve Krishna. So we have to look at how we can do our daily duties and constantly think of Krishna at the same time, and mold our daily duties as service to Krishna. So when we are bringing up our children, it is not like the child is sense gratification. The parent, the duty of the parent is to raise a child in a devotional, in a Krishna conscious manner. That is why that soul has taken this human birth. Human birth is not just a birth like a cat and dog. It is very, very rare, and the purpose of human birth is special, is to make progress in the spiritual path. Sense enjoyment can be done much better as a cat and a dog or other forms of life, but or more sense enjoyment can be done than a human being. So the only thing that a human exclusively can do better than animals, or that animals cannot do, is make spiritual progress. So if the parents don't assist the child to utilize the main purpose of their existence, then the parents are not doing the right thing. They may think that I'm giving up the child as detachment and I'm doing the right thing. That is not the right thing. Raising the child with love and making the child into a spiritually conscious person, raising him in that consciousness, like we raise children to become good citizens. Don't lie, don't cheat, don't do bad things, study hard, work hard. In the same way, we must tell the children, you must make spiritual progress. Then we are being good parents. So I will stop there and see if there are any questions or any things that we want to discuss. So there is one question on the chat. I will read it out. Can you please explain the difference between Jivatma, Jivatma and Atma? I understand that Atma is Ansha or part of Paramatma. So do we have both Atma and Paramatma in our body or only Atma? So we have dealt, I just want to say, I mean, I will still answer the question to the best of my ability, but we have dealt with this topic in depth in the previous classes of this batch itself. So I request you to go and listen to the classes previously or read the Bhagavad Gita purports. Srila Prabhupada has also explained this. And I understand that the lectures are 2 hours long and it's a long, video or audio to listen, but still, to understand Bhagavad Gita, we have to put in the effort. So the answer to the question is that there are both Atma and Paramatma, or Jivatma is the right word, Jivatma and Paramatma inside our body. Atma is just I mean, there are these words that are used, but essentially Atma is referring to the spiritual living entity. Paramatma is also Atma. It is the Param Atma, the highest Atma or the highest living entity. The highest or the biggest or the supreme living entity is God. We are Jivatmas, which are of the same quality as Paramatma. So we are also spiritual living beings, just like God, but he is just bigger in quantity. And in the scriptures and Srila Prabhupada, he has given this sort of a understanding that we are like a particle of gold, whereas Paramatma is like the gold mine. The quality is the same. Whatever is the quality of a particle of gold is the same as the particle or the quality of a gold mine. And we have discussed this concept, and there are 2 other examples given: a drop of water versus the ocean itself, or a spark of fire versus the forest fire. So one can imagine the vastness, the magnitude, how big the Supreme Lord is compared to the Jivatma. But qualitatively, they are both exactly the same. So that is the sort of the Atma, but there is the correct word would be Jivatma and Paramatma. And both these Atmas are present inside the body. Because without Paramatma, the Jivatma cannot survive. Nothing can survive on its own at all. Lord Krishna confirms that in 7.7. So always we will be referring to these later verses because that is where Lord Krishna begins to explain the real sort of depth of Bhagavad Gita. In 7.7, Lord Krishna says, Mattah parataram na anyat kinchid asti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam protam sutre manigana iva. So Lord Krishna is basically saying that Mattah parataram na anyat. Mattah means me or beyond me. Parataram, beyond me, parataram, or superior to me or bigger than me, na anyat, nothing else is there. So nothing else is superior to me, which means that Lord Krishna is the supreme. Kinchit asti, there is nothing else. And mai sarvam idam protam, that I am, or everything in is I am the essence. Mai sarvam idam protam. I am the sustainer. I am the living force. I am the one that basically sustains everything. Sarvam idam protam. Sutre manigana iva. Just like a sutra is supporting the pearls in a necklace. If there is no sutra, then there will be no necklace. All the pearls or all the beads will fall apart. So the point is that without Paramatma's presence, nothing can sustain itself together. So Paramatma is present in every living entity and non-living entity both. Jivatma is the one who is your real identity inside the body. That is the real you, and you have a friend along with you, which is Paramatma. So both are present inside the body. So let us see, have I answered all these questions? Can you explain the difference between Jivatma and Atma and Jiva? I have explained that. Atma is Ansh of Paramatma. So I explained the relation between Atma and Paramatma, or Jivatma and Paramatma, about the quantity and quality, and the fact that Paramatma is the friend, is a guider, we will see again in 13.23 verse, chapter 13, verse 23, Lord Krishna uses two terms, Upadrishta and Anumanta. So, Upadrishta Anumanta cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaraha Paramatmeti Chapyukto. That person who is the Upadrishta or Anumanta is the Paramatma. Dehe asmin Purusha Parah. In the Deha, he is sitting. And he is the Purusha Parah. He is the supreme Purusha. There is the little Purusha, which is Jivatma, and the Param Purush is the Paramatma, also in the Deha. Deha is the body. So, these Sanskrit words are undeniable. How else can you interpret them? There is no other way. This is just very straightforward. Lord Krishna is not giving us in a very complicated language. He is giving us in a very simple language. So Paramatma is definitely there in the body. So we have answered, I think, all the parts of the question. If you have any counter question or anything, you can please feel free to chime in.
Prabhuji?
Yes.
Yeah, so the question I asked, that when at the point of death, the Paramatma will be in the body as well as in the Jivatma.
Yes. And they both leave the body at the time of death.
So body will not have a Paramatma.
No.
But Paramatma will be in all living and non-living things. So
yes.
How can we say that?
Point. Yes. I understand that. That's what you're asking. I get your question. Okay.
Yes.
So there is a Paramatma, which is the guide of the Jivatma within the body. Okay. They both leave the body. Now the body at that point is a piece of dead matter. Okay. Made up of several zillions, not even trillions or whatever, zillions of atoms. In every atom of the body, there is Paramatma. Definitely there is Paramatma. But the Paramatma that was guiding the Jivatma leaves the body. So Paramatma, you cannot understand Paramatma like I cannot draw a picture like a science textbook, how they can draw a picture of molecules and atoms and all those things. This is very, very inconceivable, very deep science. So the way you must understand is that, of course, there is Paramatma within the body. There are many, many, many zillions of expansions of Paramatma in our body, because our body is composed of matter.
Yes.
But the Paramatma that was guiding the Jivatma, that is the Paramatma that leaves the body along with the Jivatma. Okay, so Paramatma has several functions. The Paramatma is the sustaining force of everything in the universe, living and non-living, both. Even matter cannot remain matter without the presence of Paramatma. At some very deep levels of physics, you will understand that matter is energy. Now, they have not been able to convert all of matter to energy. Very tiny portion of matter they have, after long years of, research, they have been able to convert to energy. Very tiny, small amount of matter. That is called, whatever, a nuclear reaction. You still get a lot of matter back all of the matter is not converted, yet that gives tremendous amount of energy. So the Paramatma is the force, is the binding force that keeps matter together. Otherwise, matter would disintegrate. So that Paramatma is always there in matter. Otherwise, matter cannot sustain. So the dead body also, has Paramatma in that sense. After you burn the dead body, cremate it, it will convert itself into something else, into ashes. Even that is matter. Okay. So there is unlimited expansions of Paramatma in the universe. Okay. Please try to sort of contemplate on that, think about it a little bit, and then we can discuss more. Do you have any, does that help at this level?
Yeah, it's a little bit, but still, so the Paramatma is having several function. One of the function is with the Jivatma, other function is with in the matter.
Yes.
Can
Correct.
I think like that?
Yes, you are 100% correct. That's exactly what I said.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay. I have another question on the chat, and you all can see it because I can see it is posted to everyone, it says. So I think everyone can read it. That's what I understand. I'll read it out. Throughout life, whenever I helped someone with family, friends, or co-workers, either I have been backstabbed or was taken advantage of. One time, I even got implicated in serious legal trouble by a close relative for no reason of mine, and it took 14 years to get it resolved. Hare Krishna. So I stay away from people, chose spirituality path, and life now is very peaceful. Will life mean anything if we don't help others who might need help? So I'm very sorry to hear, Prabhuji, that this happened. Usually it doesn't happen like this. Many people help others. Sometimes everybody gets taken advantage of, but looks like there is something in your past that is causing you to experience this more than normal, so to say, than usual. And this can be, and we do not know the reason why it is happening. I know your question is a little different, that what should I do, and I really want to help people, but is there going to be any meaning in life if we don't help others, and so on. So at several levels this can be answered. First of all, do not get discouraged. Okay, there might be some karmic reaction or something, and that is there in the past. And also there is also an art of helping, and at the same time helping in a detached way as well. And also, sometimes Krishna gives us these experiences of getting backstabbed or taken advantage of in sometimes very serious ways, to help us to realize that this is the nature of the material world, and one should detach oneself from the material world and focus on Krishna. And the highest level of helping others is by giving them Krishna consciousness, by giving them the knowledge of the spiritual path. By giving somebody food, you are letting them get benefit for one day. By teaching them how to cook food, you are letting them get the benefit for this life, this one life. Next life, they will not remember how to cook. Okay? But by giving them spiritual knowledge, you are helping them in the longest possible time frame. Not one day, not one life, but across lifetimes. So at many places, Srila Prabhupada has said that the highest charity to be done, or that can be done, is to give them spiritual knowledge. So, the best way, and spiritual knowledge starts with something very simple. It doesn't have to start with the most complex verse of Bhagavad Gita or even the simple verse of Bhagavad Gita. Spiritual knowledge in some cases may not involve any verse of Bhagavad Gita or any philosophical instruction. It could mean just giving them Krishna Prasad. That is also spiritual charity. And in many cases, people will see it as direct charity, giving people food. We also do a lot of prasadam distribution. When we give free food to people, we don't tell them this is prasad or can you please say Hare Krishna and then you can have the food. No, we do not place any conditions. We just give them food. I did that. I did a project for 5 years to give free prasad to homeless people in Portland. And we never said that this is prasad. So they are still getting benefited because end of the day, it is prasad. We offer it to Krishna and then we give it as prasad. And nobody, I mean, I cannot imagine how you can get into trouble by just giving free food to people. Actually, some people did do, some people said, oh, this tastes like shit. They would say, oh, this tastes like shit. And they would throw it away. And I would say, Hare Krishna. So, what to do? They would at least eat one spoon and then they realize it's not liking to their taste and they throw it away. Fine, no problem. They had one spoon at least. So some people would hurt. I mean, I would feel hurt. Okay, you should not throw away food. Somebody else could have had it and so many other things. But that's okay, But many people would say thank you and they would happily eat it. Even if they didn't like it, it's normal courtesy, people would eat it or at least keep it and not at least, show their anger to me. 99% of the people were very happy. So we should also develop a little thick skin. We should do things as per scriptures, as guided by our acharyas. And if people don't take it, that is fine. Even Lord Krishna got so much abuse. So many people abused Krishna. Shishupal, he abused Krishna so much, but he had the benediction that he would get killed at the hands of Lord Krishna. And Lord Krishna allowed him to abuse him. And then he delivered him by killing him. Anyway, death has to come one day or the other. Getting killed by Krishna is a great boon because then you are being delivered. You are getting moksha, instant moksha. So Shishupal abused Krishna. Duryodhan abused Krishna. He tried to arrest Krishna when Krishna came as a messenger. You are never supposed to harm a messenger. Even Ravana did not harm a messenger, Angad. Angad took the message to Ravana to return Mother Sita and the war would not happen. But Ravana did not arrest Angad. He did not arrest Hanumanji either. He arrested Hanumanji because Hanumanji had, created, havoc in the Ashok Vatika. But otherwise, he would not have arrested Hanumanji. So Duryodhan arrested Lord Krishna. So many people, do these bad things to people who are trying to do good for you. You cannot get affected very easily. At the same time, try to pick things which are very, very one-sided. Sometimes when we help others, we expect them to play a part as well. And then when they don't play a part, we get too attached. Why are you not allowing me to help you? Help me to help you, they say. You try to help in a one-sided way. Do everything you can without expecting the other person to reciprocate or to help you to help him. And beyond that, if you see that that person is really not interested in taking your help or is not taking advantage of your help, you feel sorry. I'm trying to help so much and this person is so foolish. He's not taking advantage of my help. You have to be detached at that point and let go. You continue to help, be committed. Don't be detached. Sometimes you have to do this with your own children. Many people come and ask me, oh, I'm trying to teach my child they are not listening. I got them this book and that book and this tuition and that tuition, but my child is just not interested. So many times I say, please study, study, but they are not interested. I even, say that if you study, I will take you to the movie, or I will give you this, whatever toy. I say that, yes, as a father, I can understand you want really your child to take advantage of all the resources you are giving. But at a certain point, then you have to let the child learn the hard way after a certain point. So all these things you can try. And there are ways in which you can, so coming back to the original point, the best way to do any kind of help or charity to anyone is to give them Krishna consciousness or the spiritual knowledge. It can be through just simple prasadam, simply. Who will refuse free food, nicely cooked, not stale food, not decayed food? When we say to give to someone, we think, oh, expired food. No, no, no. Food which you are willing to eat happily. It has to be good quality. You should be able to, eat it yourself. That way, you share it with others. Kirtan, just sing together Hare Krishna. And then next level, give them a book. Srila Prabhupada has written so many nice books, simple ones. Give them that as a gift. Even Narendra Modi said at one time, I said he went to Japan and he gave Bhagavad Gita to the Prime Minister of Japan. And he said that, there is no better gift for me to give to anybody else than Bhagavad Gita, and no other more valuable gift. So it's not about the price that I didn't give like some jewel or gold or something. Bhagavad Gita is more valuable. I gave a Bhagavad Gita. Let the person read or not read, it's their problem. So, do this kind of way. And with the consciousness in your mind that I am doing this as a service to Krishna, as a means to bring those other people closer to Krishna. When you do it with that consciousness, Krishna will remove all the obstacles. And sometimes the obstacles may still be there because Krishna wants you to realize that this is the nature of the material world, and you should not be attached too much to the material outcomes, to your expectations. Does that help? I gave a longer answer, but do you have any counter questions or anything you did not understand? Or
no, it was very helpful. Thank you very much.
Okay, very nice. Thank you. Any other questions? So I'm scrolling back and I'm seeing what other questions are there. So there was one more question that came in the Google form earlier, the contact us form. And the question is that so this is about doing rituals. So I wish to do my dharmic ritual duties for ancestors, which my family elders are stopping me, belonging to the same caste or subsect. So I am afraid what Krishna will think about me, as he helps only a person who does his duties properly. Elders at my home are not doing their dharma and insulted me when I gifted them Bhagavad Gita book. How will it affect my children? Okay, so I'm going to paste this question on the chat for everyone so you can read it also. I'm not going to mention who posted this, just for privacy. But here is the question. I hope you can all see it on the chat. And I just read it out. So I see two questions here. One is about doing dharmic rituals for ancestors, and the essence is that what will Krishna think, because he helps a person who does his duties properly. So that is one part of the question. Okay. So let me address that question. So as we have said, Krishna is actually saying no need to follow the injunctions in the Vedas. In the second chapter, verse numbers 46, 47, 48, and 49. Let me check if I got the numbers right. 46. Yes, 45 to, sorry, 45, 46. Again, 42 also I think is there. Yes. So 42, 45, 46, 42, 43, 42 to 45, 46. 47 is Karmanyavadhikaraste. So yes, up to 46, from 42 to 46, Lord Krishna is mentioning that no need to follow the rituals in the Vedas. So he is actually saying something completely contrary to what you are saying. Later on in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna will say that the ultimate duty of a person is bhakti to Krishna. That is the main purpose or the fastest way to come closer to Krishna, to make him happy. Here that person is asking, what will Krishna think about me? Krishna, you will see that Krishna says that one who is my bhakta is always in my heart and I am in his heart. Always. So you can look at verse numbers 7.17, which says, Tesham Gyani Nitya Yukta Ek Bhaktir Vishishyate Priyo Hi Gyanino Atyartham Aham Sacha Mamah Priya. Such a bhakta who is Nitya Yukta Eka Bhakti, who is always engaged in exclusive bhakti to me. What is that? Priyo Hi Gyanino Atyartham. That person, I am very dear to him. Aham cha sa mamah priya. I am very dear to him and he is very dear to me. And then in verse number 9.29, Lord Krishna goes one step ahead. Or 30. Oh, wait, 9 point. Yes, 9.29. Sammoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshtyo asti na priyaha. Ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya mai te teshu chapi aham. So Lord Krishna is saying, though sammoham sarva bhuteshu, I am samaha, I am neutral, I am equally disposed to all living entities in general. This is 9.29. And na me dveshyo asti na priyaha. Neither do I hate anyone, nor do I love anyone. I am neutral. Like a king or government, head of government is neutral to all citizens. They don't have favorites. But Krishna is saying, I do have favorites. Ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya. Those bhaktas who are constantly doing bhajan of me, mai te teshu cha api aham. Mai te teshu. That I am in them. I am in their heart. And cha api aham, which means in my heart, and vice versa. Cha api aham means and vice versa. And I am in their heart. So Lord Krishna or Bhagavan has a special relationship with bhaktas. With everybody else, he has a neutral relationship. So bhakti is the highest form of developing a relationship with Krishna. So when you ask, or this person is asking, that what will he think about me, as he only helps a person who does his duties? No, this is not correct. He helps a person and he loves a person who is his bhakta. So if you want to gain the love and affection and recognition of Krishna, bhakti is the best way. So that is the answer of this question. Just like Lord Hanuman, just like Hanumanji, in his heart, he opened his heart and showed. Who was there? Bhagwan Ram was there. So Bhagwan Ram has permanent residence in the heart of Hanumanji. Permanent residence. So, wherever there is Bhagwan's residence, Mother Lakshmi will also come. Mother Lakshmi is never separate from Lord Bhagwan. So Lakshmi will follow Bhagwan. So when we attract Bhagwan, we get all the everything, bhakti and everything that comes with it. Okay. Next question is, elders at my home are not doing their dharma. Okay, that is their duty, whether to do or not, it's them. Dharma is the slow and gradual spiritual progress. Bhakti is the fast spiritual progress. So, and insulted me when I gifted them Bhagavad Gita. Okay, sorry to hear that. Like I said, when we give free food to some people, 99% take it happily, 1% will throw it away and insult you and call you names. That's okay. You have to tolerate it. As service to Krishna, you have to tolerate. Just like the government officials, so many news channels you will see, they will keep saying, oh, this they are doing this wrong, that wrong, that wrong, that wrong, that wrong. That is their job, to point out the wrong things when a person is trying to do something right. Every great person will have some naysayers. Mahatma Gandhi also had many people telling all the things he's doing wrong. Mother Teresa also, so many, everybody, even Srila Prabhupada. What to speak of Prabhupada, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Krishna himself. So like I said, you cannot keep getting affected. It is our attachment that, oh, if I give Bhagavad Gita, they should respect the Bhagavad Gita. And more deeper attachment is that they should respect me. Aha, what a great Mahatma he is. He is a sannyas saint, sant. He is giving Bhagavad Gita. So maybe that is our internal attachment that is speaking here. Maybe. Try to realize that, try to see that, think about it if that is the case. Or is it the case? So think about these things, but your job is to give Bhagavad Gita. If they insult you, tolerate it. Just like somebody who's trying to do good for others, they will get some insult. They tolerate, they don't stop doing the good things. Tolerate it and move on. There are 7.5 billion people on this planet. There is no dearth of you to give Bhagavad Gita. There are not enough Bhagavad Gitas printed for you to give it to the people. Okay? There are more people, so demand is way more than supply. That's a good problem to have. As a salesman, when demand is more and supply is less, you are in business. So you are the salesman of Krishna. That is the best salesman. That's the best company to work for, the company of Lord Krishna. So become salesman of Krishna. Somebody will like the product, somebody will not. You keep distributing the product for the benefit of the company. And the company here is the best company, Krishna's company. So Lord Krishna is asking you to become a salesman of his words. He says that in 18th chapter 68 and 69, that those who distribute this message to others are the most dear to me. So don't feel bad. If they insult, try to show them with your behavior. One of the things why people may insult when we give them spiritual knowledge is because we may not be following it ourselves. Then people will see ourselves like mithyachari or cheater. You must at least try to walk your talk. Sincerely try to walk your talk. Then people will say, okay, he's trying to walk the talk and he is trying to tell me what benefited him. Let me listen. But if they see you as a pretender, then you are doing a disservice. Okay. And how will it affect my children? They will learn, they will see. Children are the best sort of observers. You cannot fool children. Children will do as you do. They say that children are like monkeys. What do monkeys do? They imitate you. They cannot understand what you say. Monkey see, monkey do. So whatever monkey sees, he does, not what he hears, because he cannot understand. But what he sees, he does. Isn't it? In Vrindavan, there are a lot of monkeys and they take sometimes the glasses away. They snatch away the glass and they will run away. So what other people do to make the monkey throw away the glass, some other person who is standing, he will take his own pair of glasses and throw it on the ground. Then the monkey will see him and he will throw the glass that he took away, the spectacles. So then the person gets back the spectacles, the glasses. So like that, they imitate. Children are like monkeys. So if you are doing devotional activity, if you are showing tolerance, children will learn it and they will become good devotees. The best way parents can teach children is by acharan, by vyavahar, which means by their behavior, by their actions. So you will be giving very good education, spiritual education to your children by example. So I don't know if this person is here today or not, but this question had come on the chat, so I answered it, or on the contact us. Okay, next question is, how do you do bhakti? That is on the chat. It's a very nice question. So let me see, I have a PowerPoint, 1 or 2 slides. There are many ideas that I put together on how to do bhakti, but the primary processes of doing bhakti are Shravanam and Kirtanam. By hearing the topics of Krishna and by speaking Kirtana, the name, the pastimes, the qualities of Krishna. Now, there are many other ways in which bhakti can be performed. There is also this thing called ABCD of bhakti, of how to do bhakti. A means association. Association with others who are performing bhakti. Okay. Why, association is so important. In association of others, you can make a lot of progress. Even like, my child has just, started his university. And when I remember when I did my university, there used to be more learning outside the classroom than inside the classroom, in the peer group. Okay, teacher has told whatever the teacher had to tell. Half the things, we understand, half the things we don't, because it's a complicated topic. But when we sit down and start to do the question answers, the homework problems, and we discuss with each other, then we understand more with each other. Just by alone yourself, it is much harder to understand. So when that is true in material life, it is so much more true in spiritual life, in association of other devotees. So that is A. B is books, which is Shravanam, reading or hearing. Reading is the modern form of hearing. So that is reading the Shastra. Otherwise, we can go easily into speculation. Oh, it could be like this, it could be like that. By reading proper Shastra, which has the translations and commentaries by bona fide acharyas, we can understand what exactly is the Shastra telling us to do. Otherwise, we can do our own self-manufactured version of bhakti, which may be wrong. So that is second. C stands for chanting or kirtana. So B and C are Shravana and Kirtana. You can sing if you're interested, and you can be a bathroom. Everybody is a bathroom singer. You may think I'm a bad singer. I am one of those people who claims that I cannot sing. Whenever I sing, everybody else stops singing. Because then, they even though they may be the greatest musicians, I can make them stop singing. Because I sing so much out of tune that they cannot continue. So, but everybody is a good bathroom singer. When I'm singing alone, I think I'm singing so perfectly. What is wrong? Why do other people say that I don't sing nicely? So alone you can sing. Krishna doesn't care how much in tune you are singing. So alone when you can sing even if you are a bad singer. And if you're a good singer, you can sing in association also, and everybody will enjoy, everybody will benefit. Of course, don't annoy people by singing poorly if you cannot sing, but alone you can sing. Krishna will never get annoyed with your singing. And singing Krishna's names, singing Krishna bhajan, singing in the mood of bhakti. That is C, chanting. And D is diet or prasadam. Always eat prasadam, Krishna prasad. Offer to Krishna. We all eat 3 times a day. Many people eat more than 3 times a day. Whenever you are eating, offer it to Krishna first and eat. So, like this, you can perform. How to do bhakti was the question. This is how you can do bhakti. So I have some slides here that I have shown. Where is it? I'm trying to find some slides which I had made some time back. I need to organize better. 1 second, I'll find it quickly. Yes, right here. Found it. Let me share. Are you seeing this slide? Simple ideas for performing bhakti yoga. Do you see this? Is it sharing? Yes.
Yes.
So first one I am saying, hear or read about Krishna or his pure devotees, that is Shravanam. Read Bhagavad Gita, Krishna book, Srimad Bhagavatam, Ramayana, Kirtans. You can sing Kirtan or hear Kirtans. The singing is the next one. So hearing Kirtans. Read biographies of pure devotees. That's very important. We can read Srimad Bhagavatam, we can read Bhagavad Gita, which are instructions, but we can also read the biographies of pure devotees, because then we can see how they lived their life. Because they are living their life in pure bhakti. So we can get an example from their life of how to lead a life of bhakti. So that is hearing or reading. Then singing or kirtanam, or just singing can also just mean japa, just, without the tune, without the musical tune. So, anything that you can do, while driving, while walking, while showering, just soft humming, so that you can hear Krishna's name, you can sing Krishna's name. Always the purpose is to remember Krishna. Think of Krishna when anything good happens or anything bad happens. Whenever good things are happening, they are happening because Krishna is allowing the good things to happen. They are not happening only by your effort. We covered this in 2.47. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. That why you do not have the right to your results, because you are not the only cause. Krishna is the major cause of the results. So many people work hard, do all the things. Why only few people get the result? Because they are not the only cause. Thank Krishna when good things happen. And when good things don't happen, remember Krishna. Ask for protection, no problem. Just like a child asks for protection from the father. Then prasadam. Offer food to Krishna and then consume. So, and then share the message with others. That's one of the best ways, sharing the message with others. And the message doesn't just mean shlokas. It could mean just give them a book. It could mean give them prasadam. It could mean you just give them kirtan, sing kirtan with them. All those things can be done. And this is not a complete list. There can be so many other things. Okay, so the question was, how can you do bhakti? Here are some practical ways of doing bhakti. Okay. Okay, so we are at the top of the hour, and I don't see any other questions on the chat, and so we will stop here. Thank you very much for joining. I really enjoy discussing the topics from Bhagavad Gita, and you have given me a chance to do that by your presence, by your interaction. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.